Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be making this cutout neck design, so stay tuned to find out how that happens. So first you're going to need a cardboard folded in two like this, and I'm just going to mark out my bust line, waistline and shoulder line. So now I'm marking my shoulder divided by 2, and I'm going to mark my neck width and neck depth for the front, which is 3 by 3 inches, then 1 inch down for the shoulder slope, and I'm just going to connect that to the 3 inches mark. Then I'm going to square up the 3 inches to the other 3 inches. I'll curve it to form the front neckline. When that is done, I'm going to mark my chest line, which is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I'm going to mark that out as my chest line, and then at the middle I'm going to mark it and then come inside by ½ inch, and I'm going to curve that for the front armhole curve. Then I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4 and then my bust measurement divided by 4, and then connect that together. I'm going to mark my dart line, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Then I'm going to do the dart after my waistline. I'm going to stop it by 4 inches. You can make yours however long you want it. Then at the bust measurement I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Then I'm going to go out for my dart ½ inch 1/4 on both sides. And I forgot to add the under bust measurement. This is me adding it now. 3.5 inches for my 3.5 inches on my bust measurement. I'm going to go on the side by that same ½ 1/4 inch that I did for the waist, and then I'm going to connect that together. You can use between 1 inch to 1.5 inches for the dart spacing on both sides. Then I'm going to curve it from that 1 inch from the bust measurement to form my dart curve, as you see me doing in the video. I'm also going to slant it to the end of the dart line that I marked to finalize the dart lines. Okay, so after that I'm just going to mark out how wide my dart is. It was 1.5, and I'm going to add it to the side, and then I'm also going to add my 1 inch seam allowance. I'm going to add 2 inch seam allowance at the bust line, just so it can correspond with that waistline. So after that I'm going to connect the allowance on the bust line to the waistline, and I'm going to extend the armhole curve with little dots like this, and then I'm going to smoothen that out. If you have a French curve, that will be perfect to use because it will give you smooth curve lines like this, but if you don't have, you can always use your free hand. So I just glued an extra cardboard to the one I had before so that it could get up to my hip line from the waist point. So I've rolled that out, and I've also marked it as my hip line, just so you understand what I'm doing. Then I'm going to mark my hip measurement divided by 4. And because this style is going to be an A-line dress, the allowance I used 2 inches just so I could slant it down like so. It will have that A-line shape from the waistline. And this is just me curving the waistline so it will not be that sharp, and then extending it. This gown is going to be very long. It's just me that made this short because of my pattern paper. So here I'm cutting out the pattern. This pattern paper is on fold, remember, so I'm just going to cut that out, even the neckline and the shoulder slope, and then I'll open it up, and then I'm going to draw the first slant for the style up to the other armhole curve. For this style, I'm not working with any particular measurement. I'm just using freehand to make the design at the top. So I curved this from the shoulder line like you see me doing to the armhole curve for the other side, depending on where you want the slant to be. And this is just me making the other curve for the style to where I want it to stop as well. You can see that my lines are looking a little bit crooked because I'm doing it freehand. Also from the other shoulder line, I'm going to curve it to this side. I'm just meeting it out. If you want the cutout to be very wide, you can make yours wide as well from the pattern paper. Here mine was looking small, so I decided to make it wide again. I'm going to make some corrections from this other shoulder line. I'm going to carry it down a little bit like you see me doing. But however low you draw this line, just make sure that the other small part that is coming from the left hand side gets to that line. Make sure that it stops there like you see me doing. I'm going to extend it down to that line and stop there. I'm sorry if this is looking a little bit confusing. This is just me trying to figure out how I'm going to place the line. This is like I'm shading this side just so you know the other part I'm going to cut out. And then this side that you see me cancelling is the line that I'm not going to cut out. I'm going to cut out the one below. Then this is me extending my chest line, my bust line, my waistline, and then the hip line to the other side, just so I can make a dart on the other side as well. Then from the midsection to my dart, it was 4 inches. I'm going to take it to the other side and mark my dart line on the chest line, my bust line, waistline, everywhere, just so I can connect it together. So after I've put the line, I'm going to mark the same dart allowance that I did on the side. Not that allowance, the same dart spacing, the half 1/4 on the left and also the half 1/4 on the right. I also forgot to do the underbust, so this is just me going to do the underbust line and also mark the same half 1/4 on the left and also on the right. When I've done that, I'm going to connect the underbust to the waistline, and then from the bust line, remember I came down by 1 inch. I'm going to do the same for here, and then I'm going to curve it to meet the underbust. And then from there, I'm going to slant it to reach the 4 inches after the waistline to end the dart. Then at the top of the dart, note that this side is going to be curved, so it might gape, the neckline might start gaping, might be open. So for that, I'm going to go by the left ½ inch and on the right ½ inch, and then I'm going to curve that into the dart line. That way, when I sew it together, that place is going to be tight and it's not going to be open. It's just me marking the dart so you know where the dart is placed. After that, I'm going to cut out the neckline. This is a small part that I'm cutting out first. Then I'm also going to cut out this curve part. I hope these lines are not that confusing. This is the line I'm cutting with. If I had known, I'd have made this neckline a little bit smaller. You saw the picture at the beginning. If that spacing is too big for you, you could make yours smaller. I'm just going to cut it out at the chest line. And then this is me cutting out the remaining part of the neckline. So from the armhole curve, I came down by 5 inches just to match with the dart by the left hand side, and I'm going to curve it into the dart on the right to make a princess dart, because I need somewhere to cut the dart from. You understand? When I start cutting the dart out, I need like somewhere I can start placing my scissors to cut into the dart. So this is me cutting the left hand side dart. I'm not going to cut it all the way because that's how I want to sew it. Then this is me cutting out the other dart. And that is done, I'm just going to fold it into 2. This is the front side of my fabric folded into 2. And then I'm going to slant it. Remember, the dress I'm making is an A-line dress. I'm just going to slant it to the end, and here I've cut it out. The neckline, I also curved it like that, but I'm going to be making the main neckline when I open it up like this. So when I open it up, I'm going to open up the pattern as well, and then I'm going to pin it down. Just try to hold it down. And then I've cut out the neckline properly. I've also cut out the dart with some allowance by the side so that when I sew it, it will be okay as well. After doing that, I'm going to be cutting the back, but first I'm going to adjust my pattern paper. So I'm just going to remove ½ inch from the waist allowance for the darts, because I used 1.5 inches for the darts before, and for this back I want to use 1 inch for the back darts. So I just remove the ½ inch because my back dart is going to have ½ inch on both sides. So now I've laid the pattern on the fabric with 1 inch zip allowance on the side, and then I'm going to do the neckline 1 inch down for the depth of the neckline. Just me putting my tape there so that I'll know where the 1 inch stops, and then from there I'm going to curve it to meet the same shoulder line as the front pattern. Now I'm just marking out the middle of the dart line with my chalk. I'm so sorry if you cannot see this chalk very well. I didn't even know that it wasn't showing that well. So this is the middle of my dart I'm just marking out, and the fabric is bright so it's not really showing that well, but after doing that I'm just going to pin it down. This is just so that I could know the dart line, so that I'll know where I'm going to sew the dart on the back. So I've pinned it, and then I'm going to use my chalk to mark the start of the dart and also the end of the dart. Then I'm just going to pinch it at the middle, just so that I could illustrate what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew it from that start to the end, but at the waistline I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch, which is where the dart's singeness will be. Like, this is where I'm taking the allowance from. So I've also gone ahead to cut out this part. This is the left hand side of the dress, the shoulder seam area. Then also this is the front side. I've also cut it out with the lining, and when I start closing the dart, I will start from the down to the top side. Then for the back, I've also cut it out with the lining as well. So now it's time to go and sew on the darts. So for the front, I've sewn the dart and also sewn the lining, the dart together. Now it's time to place the fabric right side to right side and sew them together. For the little part, I've also sewn the lining together with it. You just to turn it and iron it. And then this is the back dart I've sewn, as you can see, on the wrong side. When you finish sewing that, you're going to attach the shoulders together, the back and the front together. I've done that here, and I'm just going to lay it out. So when you've gotten to this part of the dress, the next step will be to attach the bias or the ribbon to this side of the dress. I'm going to be using green, so I'm going to be referring to it as the green. First, I'm going to attach the green to this small part of the shoulder of the design. Then I'm going to also attach the green to this part as well before I attach it to this longer side from the front to the back. So for the small side, I place the fabric at the back, and then I'm going to turn it to the front like I've done here. The next step will be to attach from the back to the front of this one as well. I've done that, and when I attached it, I made it longer because this one is going to extend to the ribbon that we are going to tie a bow at for the front. If you saw the design, you understand what I'm talking about. Then I've done the other longer side as well. Then now I'm going to place this small side on top of this longer side, just so the dress could be complete. You could, anyhow you want to place it, whether it is under it or on top of it. I've added the zip, and also she had to wear the dress so I could know where I'll pin this other ribbon, just so it to match up with the ribbon coming from this other side. Then you tie it together there. Also this side, I just made a bow out of the fabric that I've sewn together, and then I just sewed it down with needle and thread on this part. As you can see, when that is done, you attach your zipper, the dress is finished, or the top, whatever you're adding this neckline to is finished then. When that is done, this is what the dress is looking like. It's an A-line dress. I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you have any questions or contributions, you can leave them in the comments. Thank you. Bye.